The boys are back in town.
We're back.
We're going to get a DCMA strike. Stop.
I didn't sing it that good. All right, folks.
Bug, I gotta ask.
Welcome back.
Hold on, Bug, what's going on with your camera? What's all the glowiness around it?
It's called...
all right, much better.
It's called dust. Dust on the camera.
Sorry, Doug. Did not mean to cut you off there. That was just bugging me.
Haha. All right, happy holidays, folks. Hope you had a great Christmas. Hope you had a great New Year's.
I think you had a great New Year's Day.
Did I? What did I do New Year's Day?
Watch Ohio State stop on Oregon.
Yeah.
You probably watched the football game.
Definitely happened. Also, Tug, you're frozen in the most unnatural smile I've ever seen in my life.
Hold on.
I also, for anybody that was
oh man,
I was watching from the second we went live, I want to apologize. They changed the name for all the shit on the side here for all the show controls, and I was like very confused on where the fuck I was supposed to find our music at. But I found it. Don't worry, I got there. Took me a minute.
It was enjoyable, I think.
Doug was laughing at me, so hopefully y'all were too.
All right, so the last time we had a show was before Christmas. It was before bowl season. We picked for every bowl game that we could, and then the bowl games that, as playoffs happened and more bowl games got announced, we picked those on Twitter and Instagram and in our Discord. So if you missed those, that means you're not following us anywhere, which you should do. Go on X and follow at BDT Football because we post on there occasionally. And then join the Discord where we post all the time.
Yes.
That's your real options.
Except for me, because Discord hates me.
Well, you hate Discord is the real thing.
No, I'm the one who wanted that.
Yeah, this is what we're doing right now.
That's great. That is.
I was gonna see if I could just turn his camera off for us, but that's not working. So
you did the exact opposite of that.
There he goes.
All right. So we have to get through all of the bowl games and talk about our picks. And then we can get to, there are only 3 games left in this college football season. And, of course, we'll be making picks for those as soon as we can, because one of them we don't know the matchup yet. In the meantime, we have a pick'em still going on. This is still the 2024 season, even though it is now 2025. And we're picking whatever games Doug feels like picking, which happens to be every bowl game.
Yeah.
We, at the end here, how many games will we have picked?
Probably close to 400.
Are you kidding me? It's way more than that. It is way more than that.
Well, like 600, 700?
More. 752.
Jesus
will
Christ.
be the final tally of our pick'em. Once it's all said and done. And let me just tell you, the championship's still on. So let's get into it. Last we knew, before bowl season, it was a 5-point spread between first and second place.
And I had a chance to make up some territory, but I'm just gonna spoiler alert: it didn't happen.
Did not happen. But that first and second place battle, it happened. There's some developments there. We'll get to them as we get to them. First up, Army-Navy game. This game feels like it happened forever ago.
Because it did. Almost a month ago.
Yeah. Tug picked Air Force, and Air Force lost.
Yep. Army and Navy, in fact, did not play for second, and the Navy won, and in dominant fashion. What's crazy to me is that Army had such a great season, and they stumbled against Notre Dame,
Mhm.
I don't think people really thought
Blamed
that was
him for
gonna
that.
happen. Yeah, and I don't think people blame him for that either. I didn't expect it to be that bad. I know some people did. And then to kick Tulane's ass the way they did. I mean, I don't know what happened to Tulane their last 3 games of the year. We'll talk about them and their bowl game here in a little bit as well. But for them to do that to Tulane and then come out and lay an egg against Navy was shocking to me, at least.
It was to some extent. Also, this is kind of what happens in the Army Navy game. The weaker team just plays their fucking ass off every year.
That's fair.
And then we saw Navy ride this momentum to a bowl win. So something went right for the midshipmen at the end of the year.
And Navy was a team too. They started off the year so hot. They were doing everything right. Had a few lucky bounces too. You know, can't discount the luck that they had go their way. But huge win for Navy, and you know, Army's going to remember this next year. It's going to be a fun one again next year. I have a feeling.
Typical Memphis fan can't take accountability for his team losing. All right, so then we had the FCS playoffs. They were already started by the time we took a break for Christmas. And by the time we come back now, we've had the national championship. Your bracket was damn close.
I know. I'm just looking at that. I think I had the best bracket of all of us. I got the Final Four right. I had most of the Elite Eight correct as well.
Yeah.
I'm pretty proud of this one.
I mean, it's pretty solid. Mine does not look quite as good because I had some dumbass upsets in there just for fun.
I don't think Mercer was necessarily a bad take there either. Like we kind of talked about it all year. We were waiting for the other shoe to drop with them, and it just never did.
Yeah.
And you know, props to them. They ran into the eventual national champions, and they were bested there.
Bested is putting it quite mildly. Appreciate it. And Tug with the homer picks at the end there.
Yeah, I really started to get to him. I don't hate his logic of Rhode Island beating Mercer there, although it didn't happen for him. And then
I take a bear over a ram 10 times out of 10.
I mean, that too. And I don't think there's anything wrong with expecting South Dakota State to go back and get the three-peat on, but they just ran into a North Dakota State team that got hot at just the right time.
Then, of course, in addition to the brackets, we were picking these games individually as they happened. Just in case our brackets got messed up, we could still get points. And we all picked the Bobcats over Idaho. Took care of business quite easily, as did South Dakota State over Incarnate Word. And North Dakota State over Mercer was a little bit closer than it looks, but it ended up not being very close in the second half. But UC Davis, South Dakota was a pretty good game.
Yeah, and you know, South Dakota's come such a long way. It's crazy to see that 3 of the 4 FCS semifinalists were from North and South Dakota. I expect the South Dakota team to be back next year as well, and we'll see. Maybe they make even a little bit more noise. Maybe they get into that national championship game next year.
I doubt it. Montana State handled the Coyotes in the semifinal, but then the Dakota Marker delivered another classic. Whew.
I solely went with South Dakota State here because I thought, man, it's tough to beat a team twice. And it was 7-point win here. I should have stuck with North Dakota State, but I have no regrets taking the Jackrabbits here.
I mean, I think both games, the total separation between the two is still less than 10 points, like combined. Because the first game was like a 3-point 1 or 2 point separation.
I mean, as I said, Dakota Marker delivered another banger.
Yes.
What else you want at this point? It's the Dakota Marker special.
While Bug's double checking me, did you guys see the news out of South Dakota State today, though?
Was it today or was it like 3 days ago? What news are we talking about?
Mark Gronowski going to Iowa.
Yeah, that's been
news a couple days ago.
It was on the news today in South Dakota. So
yeah,
it's insane that South Dakota's Yeah, it's
By the
insane that
time
South
local-
Dakota's behind news in their own state.
By the time local CBS affiliate gets it, it's been in our Discord for 3 days. Just that's how this works.
Beautiful.
Their head coach is now the head coach of Washington State, by the way. People were expecting Gronowski to follow the head coach to the Cougars. Did not happen. Gronowski will be a fantastic middle-of-the-road Big Ten quarterback. Cannot wait. And Tug's on again.
He's frozen up hard as shit again.
Then we had the championship for actually technically the Division I football championship.
Sanctioned by the NCAA.
This was one of the greatest FCS games I've ever seen in my life. Somehow better than the Dakota Markers. I enjoyed this one way more. This was so back and forth. Both teams had a couple of streaks where they were really hot. And then also at times it was just a dog fight, heavyweight, stand in front of each other and throwing knockout punches. What a game.
The only thing I can't understand for the life of me, and this unfortunately is going to be the story of this game.
Yeah.
How do you send all 11 guys to block that kick?
So I understand it to an extent. Like, your concern is even if you fair catch it, you're going to be on like your own 10-yard line at best. You have to go 90 yards and just pray for a single play. Or if you get a punt block, that's the game. So I think the theory was that punt block was a higher probability than getting a 90-yard touchdown in one play. And I kind of respect the thought process, but it does look bad.
I mean, you got to take your shots where you're going to take your shots. And if that's the shot he wanted to take, man, go for it. If that's where you think your odds are, if that's where you think your probabilities are, go for it.
To not let your senior quarterback get a chance to finish the game with the ball in his hand, though, that's wild to me. It doesn't change the outcome. If they get it and get a fair catch and they have 5 seconds left, they have one play. 2, if they're extremely lucky and efficient with a deep out route. But to not even give him that opportunity, that's almost criminal to me.
I mean,
Yeah, but I can't be that sentimental when it comes to trying to copy. I get it. Yeah, I want to put the ball in my best player's hands, but I also want to do that in a play that makes sense to give them the best chance. Sentiment.
You could do that, or you could get no chance like they got, because that's exactly what happened. So you could have a point. You could have a 0.1% chance of him throwing a deep touchdown pass, or you could not have him throw a touchdown pass opportunity at all and just take it completely out of your hands.
I'm just saying I agree with Doug where if the probabilities they had that they ran said that they had a better chance of blocking the punt, I get it.
I just go back to that Michigan State. He has trouble with the snap.
I remember that. Yep.
That's what Montana State was hoping for. That was their only shot at winning, I think, at that point.
I mean, you're probably right. Man.
Also, this is North Dakota State's 10th national championship in 14 years. Can we just fucking exile these bitches?
The Mountain West is still looking for teams.
No, they're not. They just got Northern Illinois.
Yeah, but I will kick out a few teams, including Air Force, for North Dakota State.
Yeah, because you want Air Force in the American or the Pac-12, neither of which is going to happen because Air Force turned them both down. They even got offered. Air Force said no.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
I mean, I'll let us get off topic here. Is going to the Big 12 for any group of 5 team worth it at this point? It's the Big 12 in name alone. All the actual, this is a good conference is completely fucking gone at this point.
Are you kidding me? The Big 12 is awesome.
Pac-12, sorry. I thought that's what you're talking about.
Okay. The Pac-12's ass.
Big 12 is awesome. The The Big 12 is awesome. You are correct.
Though it would be a step up for a team like, say, Texas State, who is still being kicked around as a possible option for the Pac-12, who needs another member. I don't know what they're going to do.
I don't think they know what they're going to do.
Call up the Dakota States and both Montana schools. That's what needs to happen. Anyway, this is the bowl season calendar. Remember when we looked at this a long time ago?
Oh, my goodness. Feels like forever ago. Just looking at all the dates on here. Whew.
It's crazy.
Hey, and look,
Dang.
here we are.
The Duke's Mayo Bowl. That was a fun one.
Dude, this is one of the best bowl seasons I can remember. I feel like I say that,
Every
relatively
bowl season.
frequently. But there were so many great games this
They
year.
really were. They really were.
Like, you can't even joke about it. Like, this is a legitimately phenomenal bowl season.
Yeah.
My theory is the 12-team playoff made everything better.
I agree. And we'll
And
get
everybody
to
bitching about it.
I do have one complaint with it that I
You're
also
wrong.
have with the NFL. No. That
You're
I
wrong.
also have with the NFL. It's the same complaint.
You're
It's
wrong.
fine. You're
Shut
wrong.
up. You're wrong. I'm not going to have this argument. I don't care if you're talking about the NFL or you're talking about college football. We're not having this argument. If you win,
No, I think
then
my
you should get a fucking home game. You should get a bye, something. I'm not
You
having
get
this
to go to the playoffs.
No, fuck that.
Otherwise, you end up with all the
And
lower
don't
seeds
fucking
winning.
suck off the power conferences. If you, it's
I
not that
agree.
fucking important, don't fucking suck them off.
I agree.
All
Don't
right.
say these 4 conferences get in
Here's-
automatically.
Here's my argument against you, Tug, on this point. Conference championships have to matter more than anything else in the sport outside of the national championship itself. Conference championships need to be the second most important thing you can possibly do, or else conferences don't matter. So give conference champions the bye. I 100% agree with it. Division bullshit in the NFL, I couldn't care less. If they went away with the division structure entirely, I don't think most people would notice. So I don't know that your argument's wrong in the NFL. In college football, I think conference championships have to be one of the most important things about the sport, or else you've lost something massive there. And I know conferences are realigning it quite frenetic pace. I still think it needs to matter.
The conferences don't care about the conference. The conference care about the money. That's like,
Yeah, everyone cares about the money except for the fans. And to the fans, conference championships still need to matter.
but what it comes down to for me is we should not run into a situation where arguably the top team in the nation, talent-wise on paper, should be playing the number 1 seed, who did go undefeated. Right? Ohio State never should have been playing Oregon. Oregon caught a bad draw there. That was just poor luck on their point. On their part.
It's bad luck for them
bad
that Ohio
seeding.
State lost 2 games in the regular season and didn't deserve anything higher than the 8 seed.
You want to talk about something that I think actually does need to change? There's no reason Clemson should have been on the road. We want to sit here and talk about conference championships need to mean something. Why was Clemson a road team? I don't give a fuck that they were the 12 seed. They should have been the home team because they were the conference champion.
I agree with that.
Doesn't, and that's
no,
where it's
it
tough for me.
absolutely does because
What-
it has to matter. Otherwise,
'cause-
who gives a fuck about the conferences?
Because all
if
it means
it
is
doesn't matter, get rid of conferences. Stop having conferences. In
all
college
you
football.
did is one game in that situation because Clemson lost 3 games bad. They were ugly games. They lost
and
3.
they made it to the conference championship,
and they
that's what
won
matters.
1 game. That's like that. That's where it's hard for me, right? Because we say it all the time. Any given Saturday, any given Sunday, it doesn't matter. Like there's
Okay.
no
But they had to put together at least 10 of them
even.
to even get in the position to win one of those games.
But
And
where
teams like Ohio State didn't win enough to put themselves in the position to do that. Like, it still does mean something.
I struggle with it because I get where you're coming from with the conference, where it means it to the true blue.
Audio cut out.
Yeah.
I hard disagree. That's all.
And that's
Yes,
it's
I
valid.
also disagree. I vehemently disagree. And the NFL is just as bad too. Like, yeah, I get it. It sucks that the Lions have to fucking go on the road, but score a fucking touchdown when you had 14
The Lions
fucking
won. They're
trips,
the 1 seed.
or the Vikings. Score a fucking touchdown when you get in the red zone. They didn't have a problem moving the ball. They had a problem scoring. You can't fucking score. You don't deserve to have fucking home field advantage. I don't give a shit.
The way I see it too, like it forces some of those regular season matchups that affect conference standings, and it forces the conference championships themselves to become de facto playoff games, which creates more tension in the regular season itself. Like if we just went off of pure, like the AP poll, for example, a lot of it's based off of the talent of the roster, eye test. Oh my gosh, Ohio State's more talented than the team it just lost to, so we're still going to rank Ohio State above this team. That's not the way seeding should work in a sport where you have to earn everything that you're given. And
now, I will say, if they want to, the one change I would be okay with, if they want to reseed the playoffs after the first round, go for it. That I don't have a problem with.
yeah, I don't know how that would work exactly.
I don't, and Oregon still would have been hosed this year. I'm pretty sure. I would have to go back and look, but
I also think if you're legitimately the number one team, the best team in college football, why would you care who your next opponent is? You're going to have to beat the best teams at the end of the year anyway. Even if it worked perfectly well, theoretically the best possible way, you'd have that number one team who's undefeated against the most talented team at the end. You still have to play that team, even in the theoretical best version of this.
And then we end up with that ass kicking in the national championship game, which everybody's going to complain about that too. So if there is one legitimate gripe about the college football playoff, it's that instead of 1 out of 3 being lopsided, potentially 2 out of 3, so far we're 8 for 8 on them being just absolute dog ass kicking blowouts.
That's exactly fair, but okay.
I mean,
Notre Dame did not dog walk Indiana.
That's true. That's true. That's so long ago.
So we're 7 for 8.
And Arizona State took Texas to overtime.
Yep. No, I know.
And Clemson, Texas wasn't particularly a blowout either. I know the final score looked worse than it was.
You're also talking to somebody who has only gotten to see highlights of these games. So,
and Notre Dame, Georgia was a 6-3 game at halftime.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's the problem. By the time I woke up, Notre Dame had it in hand. So
it was the course of literally 3 plays, including kickoffs and everything, with a halftime break in between it that caused the game to blow for Notre Dame. Like, there was a fumble recovery touchdown, a kickoff return touchdown. It was nuts. That game was very close. I think there are 3 legitimate blowouts in this playoff so far, and that would be Penn State over Boise State and the 2 Ohio State wins.
Yeah, and we'll talk about those games.
I would even call Penn State SMU a little bit closer than it looked.
Yeah, and we can talk about those games as we get to them, but let's not waste any more time here. We have a fuck ton of games to get through, starting with the Celebration Bowl, and oh my God, the SWAC finally did it.
Unreal. This is not okay.
I wanted to go with South Carolina State, but I was like, it's got to happen eventually. And JSU is just the better team.
I knew that going into this, but it's not how that works usually.
I know. Isn't this only the second time the SWAC's won?
Yeah, I think so. I think is that the first time Jackson State's won?
I'm not sure, honestly. While you're doing that, the Tigers won this one 28-7. This was all the way back December 14th, sitting right at about a month. Let's move on to our next game.
First time that Jackson State won but it's the third time the SWAC has won because Grambling State and Florida A&M have a 1 win as well.
Starting something new. Time for a new streak.
The ISIS Salute to Veterans Bowl.
Yeah, this is what a wild corporate sponsor here. USA won though. South Alabama beat Western Michigan 30-23.
Yeah, I know you picked Western Michigan because how much you hate South Alabama, which makes this funnier to me. That it was this close and you were almost right, and yet it got yanked from you by your least favorite team of all time.
Yeah, that's annoying. Next up, we had the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. Memphis taking on West Virginia here. Final score 42-17. Looks a lot closer than what the game actually was. 47-37. What did I say? 42-18?
You said 42-17. I was like, damn.
Oh,
Memphis beat the shit out of them.
Well,
42-37.
So here's the thing. Memphis was beating the shit out of them. Then it seemed like they very much pulled their foot off the gas in that second half. Offense wasn't humming. Yeah, offense wasn't humming quite as well. Defense was getting the stops where they need it. I'm happy with a finish like this. Seth Hennigan undefeated in bowl games. Back-to-back best quarterbacks in Memphis history between Seth Hennigan and then preceded, of course, by Brady White. It's been an amazing run for Memphis.
By Paxton Lynch.
No, it was Riley Ferguson and then Paxton Lynch. I mean, there's just been
Riley Ferguson. Nobody remembers him.
There's been a great string of quarterbacks at Memphis. I'm very curious to see how this is going to work for him going forward. A lot of turnover going to be happening here. A couple guys going to the Hawaii Bowl on both sides of the ball. And then, of course, Elijah Herring, big transfer going down to FSU to play for Mike Norvell. So it's going to be a very different looking Tigers team. There's a lot of what ifs and coulda, shoulda, wouldas for this team. But finishing with 11 wins for the first time in program history or second time in program history. Second time in program history, and then ending the season on a Power 4 victory. You can't be upset about that.
My only question is Scooter's Coffee your new favorite coffee?
Oh, it's been my favorite coffee for a while to begin with. This was just a happy convenience that ended up the game that Memphis went into. And there's a lot of Memphis fans that were so butthurt about this, like, oh, the payout's so small. And I'm like, you guys do realize that there is a Power 4 team in this game as well that Memphis is probably going to beat.
Mm-hmm. And you did. Didn't look like you deserved to at the end there, but you did.
Yeah, definitely just a matter of they got too far ahead for West Virginia to win it.
Hey, sometimes it's all it takes.
Absolutely.
The Boca Raton Bowl in Boca Raton, Florida. Western Kentucky decided that they didn't like playing defense anymore, and they were done with that for the season. Unfortunately, JMU is not a great offense and couldn't take that much advantage of it, but they still did win 27-17.
So is JMU wearing a double crown?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I completely missed this one, so I have no comment. Fair
enough. The AOS Art of Sport LA Bowl hosted by Gronk in SoFi Stadium. What a great name for a bowl game. This really rolls off the tongue.
But it's got Gronk.
Cal did not play their best.
They probably did.
No, they really didn't. I've seen them play their best this year. This was not it. UNLV really didn't play their best either, but it was better than Cal. And
that's all they needed. Yeah. UNLV had such a wild season and still had so much success to end the season on a, basically a home game for Cal and go out there and win the way they did against a Power 5, Power 4 team is just awesome. Yet again, another group of 5 team taking a Power 4 team to the woodshed here.
A great classic Mountain West ACC matchup. Love to see it. The R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl had one of Tug's classic. Hey, why not? I'll pick the other one because y'all picked
Yep.
these two. And it worked out for you. Hate to see
Yet
it.
again, love to see it. You'll love to see
Hate to
it.
see it. Fuck you. I was only 5 points ahead of you. I hate to see it.
Oh, I
It's
love
all right.
to see it.
Everybody got kind of streaky here in the early parts of bowl season.
Well, you can't say. I mean, I guess we all got streaky, but two of you are on the same path, and then I'm on my own.
Yeah, it changes. Trust me.
Yes, it does.
You have your run,
Times.
shit. Don't worry.
The Staff DNA Cure Bowl in Orlando, Florida. You picked one hell of a game here, Bug. This was very fun.
Yeah, I had a feeling it would be. Ohio's been an exciting team all year, and for that matter, so is Jacksonville State. I went with the Cox because I knew I wasn't going with them later, and it bit me in the ass here.
And Parker Navarro scored 4 touchdowns by himself. So
Wild.
welcome to Ohio Bobcats football this season. Oh, geez. Moving right along, the Gasparilla Bowl, Florida beat the shit out of
Finally showed up for a game.
I mean, they showed up for enough.
Florida's shown up to a couple this year. That was a pretty decent season, all things considering.
Well, and for a
Tulane's the one
team,
who decided not to play anymore.
yeah, for a team that people thought wouldn't even make a bowl game, let alone win an SEC conference game, to then come in and beat what was regarded as a team that had a shot at the college football playoff preseason, the way that they did, it's unbelievable. I'm very interested to see what happens in Florida over the next couple of years, because a lot of people thought this was going to be it for Billy Napier. I think he secured his spot for at least 2 more seasons. And if he does well next season, if he can build off of this, he might be there for a while.
I mean, I would expect he starts the year off next year with a win against Long Island. And then from there, we'll see.
Hey, you can't start 1-0 if you don't start 1-0.
Damn right. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, we all picked the home team playing on
Very,
their home
very
turf.
wrongly, might I add.
And holy shit, UTSA won 44-15.
UTSA won a game outside of the Alamo Dome. That's the real story here. And they didn't just win it, they took them to the fucking woodshed. Jesus Christ. I thought for sure we got this one in the bag.
I know. Didn't happen at all.
Cox are 0 for 2 so far.
It's not going to get better.
The famous Idaho Potato Bowl, the classic, what is next 2 years from now, actually, going to be Mountain West Pac-12 battle between NIU and Fresno State. Well, what the hell is this world anymore? Northern Illinois did win this game 28-20. Pretty decent game. I kind of figured NIU was a little bit more talented at a couple key spots. Ended up proving true. I don't know. It was actually, I didn't think this game was that great. But
I, of course, don't think it was
by
great.
one score.
I mean, it's the
NIU.
Idaho Potato Bowl. It's about as good as you'd expect it to be.
Yeah. I mean, let's be real. NIU is NIU. They did what they had to do. They did what they needed to do. They got another big win finally after not getting any big wins the rest of the season after they beat Notre Dame. Good for them.
I love those Northern Illinois mountains, gotta say.
Yeah, you can almost see them if you look west.
The Hawaii Bowl, one of my favorite bowl games going into this bowl season. I thought I had it locked down, the greatest bowl game of bowl season. I was wrong, actually. Got better from here. This was a multi-overtime 2-point win by the South Florida Bulls over the San Jose Spartans. We all picked the Spartans, though. Yeah, the team traveling potentially the farthest of any team in all of bowl season, going from South Florida all the way to Hawaii, pulls out the win.
Absolutely insane. And, I just got to say, this is the South Florida team I've been talking about all year, hoping to see all year. finally comes out and they get the job done in this one. Huge win for the Bulls.
I mean, I think this was a 4 overtime game. 5 overtimes. 5 overtimes in the Hawaii Bowl.
Wild.
And
Absolutely.
then the
wild.
very next game, we topped it.
We went 6 or 7
With-
overtimes.
Unreal. Toledo found a way to win against Pitt in 6 overtimes. Finally
Absolutely
getting the
wild.
stop on Pitt's 2-point conversion attempt up here in Ford Field. And the Toledo Rockets make sure that Pitt loses out after starting 7-0.
I was just going to ask
Insane.
that.
Absolutely
Yeah, they
insane.
didn't. They started 7-0. I watched their 7th win in person.
And
It
went,
was
I'm done.
electric. And then Pitt said, "Yeah, that's enough winning for me. We'll go 7-6. Sounds pretty good." Unreal.
What a
Also,
wild fucking year.
what the hell is this Toledo Rockets team, dude? I don't get either one of these schools right now.
We won't get them
I
next
just-
year either. That's the one constant of college football.
It makes
The
less
6
sense the more
overtimes
you think
makes
about it.
sense, actually. Which, yeah, exactly. Which is why 6 overtimes makes the most sense of anything so far for this game. Like, yeah, this game was destined to go on forever. Moving right along, another phenomenal game here. Kansas State had to come back on Rutgers.
But they did.
They did get it done 44-41 in the Rate Bowl for the Kansas State Wildcats, which we all picked correctly. Luckily, took some doing in the second half.
Man, you know, this is one of those Big 12 teams that was knocking on the door of conference playoff or conference championship game, playoffs. Never quite got over that hump, had a few big losses they couldn't overcome. And a Rutgers team that I think surprised a lot of people, unless you're, Doug, who called it for a while. Surprised a lot of people and had a great season. Great game here.
7-6 Rutgers, very feisty. The 68 Ventures Bowl had their 69th venture here in Mobile, Alabama.
Nice.
And Arkansas State beat Bowling Green State because, of course, they did. And, of course, Tug got another random-ass point here.
Yeah, he went with the champions of life, and he was right.
What can I say? Keep letting me pick alone. It works for me.
What can I say except you're welcome?
You're going to get us a DCMA strike.
The Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. Why did I pick Oklahoma?
Dude, this one scared me for a bit
Uh-huh.
because Oklahoma had it for a bit, and then Navy in the second half went, no, we're playing this game.
Most incredible thing about this game, though, is this game featured the longest play from scrimmage in Navy football history, which doesn't even sound right to me, but it's true. 95-yard run by quarterback Blake Horvath is the longest play from scrimmage in the history of Navy football, and it really made me feel old as fuck when Blake Horvath, after the game, talked about how he, as a little kid, watched Zeke Elliott go 85 yards to the heart of the South in that playoff game against Alabama, and he was just thinking about that, his whole run. Like, damn, I was in college for that. You were not a little kid when that happened. That is not right.
It blows my mind that Blake Horvath might end up being better than Keenan Reynolds. And we were just talking, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. We're talking about how great Keenan Reynolds was.
I know.
This is
8 years.
unreal.
It's been 8 years.
Oh, look,
He still haunts me.
I'm sure he does. He haunts a lot of people.
Oh, jeez. Blake Horvath is that dude, though. Unreal. You know who else is that dude? Is Diego Pavia.
Fuck
Who
yeah, he is.
got a fucking restraining order
Oh.
against the NCAA. He's coming back next year.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Vandy to the
Yep.
fucking playoffs. Let's go.
He
Oh my
is,
god.
The Case said that the NCAA was unfairly counting his JUCO seasons against his eligibility because
So
it took
he's the
away
reason
potential
that
NIL earnings.
So he's the reason that now the NCAA does not count any of your JUCO time, because I saw that Supreme Court decision
Yes.
come out.
That's
I did
fucking
not
awful.
realize that was why.
Yes, that was Diego Pavia's fault.
Diego Pavia, the GOAT.
Fault makes it sound negative. He
Can we
is
talk
our
about
Lord
the
and
fact-
I
Savior.
don't know if it's positive or negative. I just know it's Diego Pavia's fault.
We talk about the fact that Bo Nix and Joe Burrow played each other in college,
Yes.
and they're playing again. This is going to be Diego Pavia against so many quarterbacks that are going to the NFL out of the SEC
Correct.
when he finally decides he wants to graduate, which he might be like in his 50s by then, but you never know.
He's going to have his doctorate. It's okay.
It wouldn't be the first.
Dude, there's a kid who just grad transferred from Yale to Stanford. I saw this comment. Like, dude's just degree hopping. The hell? Diego
Wild.
Pavia degree hopping to Vandy is incredible. After New Mexico State, just what a baller degree hop.
I'm so happy that I picked Vanderbilt too. Stuck with my guy. I can't wait to pick them all next season too.
This was a one-score game, by the way, 35-27. Georgia Tech did play pretty well, but Diego Pavia is just that dude. That's why we keep talking
He's
about
that
him.
guy.
He is that dude.
This
The
was not a
Pigs.
one-score game.
The
No, it
Pigs
wasn't.
came in clutch.
The AutoZone Liberty Bowl went the way of the Razorbacks.
So there's
definitively.
There's a couple things about the game and a couple things just in general about Arkansas I want to talk about. First off, Texas Tech looked like they didn't fucking belong on the field with them.
Mm-hmm.
And second off, definitely a dirty stomp by one of the Arkansas players. And I have no idea if that's been, if there's been any discipline handed down, but it sucks that happened because it gave a black eye to this whole game and to the whole program on what should have been just a fun night for the Razorbacks.
And to that player.
Anyway, Arkansas is supposed to come to Memphis next year, but their AD has complained that the state of the Liberty Bowl not being completed, blah, 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 blah. Maybe they don't want to come. To me, that's them weaseling out because their fans showed up and they called the Hogs many a time during this game. If they don't play this game at the Liberty Bowl, I think Memphis needs to just say fuck it and just not play the game next year.
Yeah, that's the only game on Arkansas and Memphis' schedule that you cannot already buy tickets for. So there's some workings going on there. Also, how the hell does this Arkansas team lose to Oklahoma State?
Carefully and with a smile.
Oklahoma State went 3-0 and then lost their next 9.
And again, this is another team, Sam Pittman. Everybody thought this was his last leg. He was going to be done. He definitely bought himself another year, at least.
I mean, shit, even that 10-point loss to Texas is probably their best win on the season. I know they beat Tennessee, but who gives a fuck? Tennessee sucks.
Yes, they fucking do. And we'll talk in depth about how much they suck later.
Can't wait. All right, the DirecTV Holiday Bowl. This game was a pretty portal depleted Washington State team trying their best. And then Kyle McCord threw for like 500 yards. And
trying his best.
Set the ACC single season record for passing yards, which everybody's talking about how great Kyle McCord is. Here's the deal. He had like 200 more attempts than second place. So they were forcing that issue. Syracuse. Yeah, they should have beat a team like a portal depleted Washington State. Who are we kidding? Fran Brown got eggnog poured on him, except he didn't because he's allergic to eggnog. So he had a delegate step in and get eggnog poured on him, which defeats the purpose. Break out in the hives for your team, man, or else it ain't real.
Please don't.
I feel like there's a little copium going on there, Doug, but we'll leave that alone and move on to our next game here.
Not at all. I don't give a shit about Honda McCord. All right, the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl, one of Tug's favorite bowl games of the season.
Tug
I was
fucking nailed
surprised
it, but he nailed it. I mean,
He
this
sure did.
So I was going into work and this game was still going on, which I mean, late start, 10:30, 9:30 Central start. This game was ending, like an hour into me being at work, and I was like, holy shit, like this game's just ending. The finish from USC getting that touchdown with seconds left in the game. Texas A&M had no real shot to even make an attempt to go downfield, kind of like what we were talking about with the FCS National Championship game. They were in such a bad spot, had to press the issue, couldn't get it done. The Trojans, they don't break under pressure. What can I say?
This just proves Texas A&M would be a Big Ten bottom feeder instead of being one game away from playing for a conference championship like they were in the SEC.
Isn't the SEC like 2-10 in bowl season right now?
It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough for the SEC.
Pretty damn bad.
Yeah. Not like USC's actually any better, but they won this game, so
that's all that matters. This was a great fucking game.
It really was. I was surprised, but it was. Bill Belichick did not show up to the Fenway Bowl in Boston.
And I have an update that I saw as I woke up today that was very interesting. Let me see if I can get back to it.
What the NFL teams are trying to get him.
UNC's Bill Belichick has heard from multiple teams, including Raiders minority owner Tom Brady, to gauge interest in NFL return. So if Bill Belichick never coaches a college football game, I won't be that surprised.
I won't either. It was already written into his contract that his son was coaching waiting at UNC and like all this extra shit that was like, obviously, if there's something else comes along, Bill Belichick's not really going to stay here forever.
Yeah.
But there were some recruiting picks that came out. Bill Belichick hanging out with his high school kids. That's just hilarious to me. And like, if you get a D1 offer to go play for Bill Belichick, you know you can ball. Let's be real.
Right.
But UConn, with a hell of a season this year, goes out in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl and beats North Carolina and finishes with a very respectable record on the season, 9-4 for UConn.
And Jim Moore going after some of these other schools after this game, talking about we're going to start naming teams that are causing recruiting violations here and going after our players before the season's over. I don't know if he's happy because he got his internet working or because he picked UConn to win in the Fenway Bowl.
I just enjoy every time I picked one against both of you, and it works out for me when I absolutely should not have won.
UConn sucked these nuts.
But no, just expect me to have to, reset my internet every 15,
30 seconds?
20 minutes. 15, 20 minutes.
Where do you live, Iraq?
Dude, I'll explain later. I want to get my wired connection back. I got to figure it out again.
Anyway, Bad Boy Mowers, Pinstripe Bowl in Yankee Stadium. Nebraska pulls this one out over Boston College, which y'all said I was nuts for picking Boston College. Ended up being a 5-point game. I wasn't that crazy.
I didn't say you were nuts. I said I just like the freshman quarterbacks this bowl season, and this time it worked out well for me.
I just didn't like BC playing in New York.
Fair. Any other commentary about how wrong I was? Or are we going to move on?
Yeah.
You weren't just wrong,
Boston
Doug.
College
You were
lost.
5 points wrong.
Suck it, motherfuckers. Y'all were 31 points wrong in the New Mexico Bowl in Albuquerque. I took my horny toes all the way to this dub, baby. That's what's up.
What a big win for TCU. Unreal.
I mean, anytime you can beat the Raging Cajuns, you know your program's on the right track. That's all I can say. I can't believe you guys picked Louisiana. Like, why?
Because I
Because
hadn't heard
usually in
anything
these
about
games, the
TCU
group of
all
5
year.
teams care more.
Not TCU, baby. They're bought in, dude. 34-3. All right. One of the best bowl games of bowl season.
But there is a question we have to ask with this game. Are you excited to try the new Pop-Tart flavor?
The Pop-Dot flavor?
Pop-Tart flavor. You know I'm from the Northeast. Give me a break.
Eating Pop-Tots with my bubbler. All right. I think cinnamon roll Pop-Tart sounds phenomenal. And I completely understand why Rocco Beck picked that one. Also, before we get to that, actually, can we talk about the game for a second? Because it was great. I understand why people were initially upset with Cam Ward for not playing in the second half. I hope that people realize it was not his decision necessarily to do that. It was the coaching staff who said, we want to get Cam Ward this career touchdown passes record and then see what our quarterback for next season is capable of. And also, that was not the reason they lost this game. The reason you lost this game is because you let up 42 points to Iowa State.
What is defense?
I think the backup quarterback was just fine for Miami. And Iowa State balled the fuck out on offense. Rocco Becht is that dude. And just like Brock Purdy, y'all going to be sleeping on him in a couple of years.
I was not fucking sleeping on Brock Purdy. Go fuck yourself. I was confused why he was Mr. Irrelevant. I thought he was a steal as Mr. Irrelevant.
I mean, you were right then. Congratulations.
I was just wrong here because I thought Iowa State would have a bunch of opt-outs again, and they didn't. So,
yeah, this was the third most points they've scored this season. They did score 52 against Arkansas State.
as they should.
And 43 against Baylor, which beginning of the season, Baylor was not a good defense.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, this is like double what they normally score. And Miami just let them do it at will. Unreal.
That's kind of been Miami's MO all season, though. Their defense would let them down in the second half.
And your camera and your microphone would let you down in the second half of your sentences. Got 'em.
Beautiful.
The Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice. Unreal that that's a thing, but it was a thing.
By Dre,
it was on the CW because that's the only place a bowl game presented by Gin and Juice is allowed to be.
And it is as crazy as we expected it to be.
Not really.
Not
Miami
really.
just fucking beat the shit out of Colorado State.
Yeah, people want to talk about how Colorado was overrated. I think the other team from Colorado, being Colorado State, was also overrated as shit.
I think Miami's just legitimately a decent team.
But the only thing we can confirm is they cannot win the MAC next year.
Well, they can win the MAC next year. They just lost the MAC championship.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah,
it's Ohio that's ineligible to win the MAC next
year.
Yeah,
they can make it to the championship game. Ohio's just not allowed to win next year.
Right. The GoBowling.com Military Bowl, presented by the actual sport of bowling.
Doug, you gotta stop giving me these purple and gold teams. They work out for me when you guys don't pick them.
I
Tennessee
remember
Tech, ECU
on this show, your reasoning for picking ECU was, fuck it. They work out for me sometimes. And I was pissed then, and I'm pissed now. Fuck you.
Which is what these teams were saying to each other throughout the game, despite North Carolina State insisting it's not a rivalry, which the big schools love to do whenever they're getting bodied by a fucking small school.
Dude, this is one of the greatest rivalries I've ever seen. This needs to be a home and home.
This needs to be a home and home. I agree.
All the time.
I 100% agree.
I just love that ECU worked out for me again.
Stop it. Get some help. Oh, jeez. Do they play each other in the regular season anytime soon? Yes, they do.
Ooh.
Actually, it is the first game of the season next year.
Oh.
ECU
I
at NC
remember
State.
seeing that. I do remember seeing that.
I thought I saw something like that before, and I didn't remember when it was exactly. It is August 30. It's week 1.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And they don't play each other again until 2028 in East Carolina.
It needs to be fucking every year. They need to rectify that immediately.
Oh my gosh. Beautiful. Anyway, all right. Yeah, big rivalry. They were punching each other and shit, and it was a 5-point game. The Valero Alamo Bowl, which I say this every year now. I hate this logo because Alamo is a longer word than bowl. And so that star is off center, and it kills me every time.
What I hate is how ESPN slurped off Colorado, despite the fact that they're getting bodied by BYU.
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. If I were a Colorado fan, I would feel ashamed of that broadcast, like how much they were getting domed, and then just
fucking ridiculous, man.
Taking headshots. Yeah, BYU, I think should have been in the conversation for the playoffs, and the fact that no one was talking about them for the playoffs kind of bothers me.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into what some people will say is the reason. I think ultimately the fact that they had 2 losses this year.
They lost to Kansas. You can't lose to Kansas.
Yeah.
And get in. I kind of understand that. But your 5-point loss at Arizona State, who got a bye, shouldn't count against you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. It is wild to me too that they beat SMU, who was in the playoffs. They had a 5-point loss to another playoff team. The fact that Kansas loss really killed them that much, because that Kansas loss is what kept them out of the Big 12 championship game. If they get a rematch against Arizona State in the Big 12 championship game, I think they win, and they probably end up. Yeah,
right.
That's
so. Mormon school with a Jewish quarterback. Crazy shit.
And then, yeah, cool. They ended up with 2 losses and ended up behind 2 3-loss SEC or 3 3-loss SEC teams, which they had great bowl games. Let me tell you.
Hell yeah, brother! That's what it's all about. All right, the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. Army against Marshall. No, wait, not against Marshall. It's against Louisiana Tech.
You said I was.
What'd we say?
Audio cut off of the worst.
He was so fucking so fucking pumped up about that too.
I was saying, Doug, you said I was lying when I called it out, saying that Marshall. Well, good thing we picked Army because Marshall's entire team basically transferred, and then you're like, no, that's not true.
It wasn't at the time.
It legitimately wasn't true, and actually still wasn't true at the time that Marshall opted out of the bowl game. They were scared that more players were going to transfer. And think about this. They still had more scholarship players left on the roster at the time they opted out than what USC had after their whole Reggie Bush and Pete Carroll situation for 2 seasons. So Marshall could have played this game. They just chickened out of it. And it bothers me. Also, Louisiana Tech got bodied because of course they did.
But I mean, hey, cool to see a nerd school get in, because that's why Louisiana Tech was in this game. They were in there for
the highest academic.
Yeah, there you go.
APR, whatever the PR stands for. It's not progress rate. Something.
They were there.
They basically had the highest GPA out of all the schools that were
5
6
and
7.
6.
Or 5 and 7.
Yeah. They were there for GPA reasons.
Right. So good for them. Yeah, Marshall definitely could have played and just decided not to. Fuck them.
Fuck them.
The Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl, the Big Ten's only loss so far this bowl season, except to itself, which we'll get to.
And one of the SEC's only wins.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Fuck them. We all picked the Hawkeyes, so not fun for us.
Fuck both these schools. Iowa for letting me down and Missouri for existing.
You know, they scored 24 points. Iowa did their best.
I mean, that's almost as many points as they can possibly score in a game, so can't be that upset with them.
I don't know if they scored that many points in the game in like 6 years. The ReliaQuest Bowl, which used to be the Outback Bowl and was much more fun when it was the Outback Bowl. Now it's this fucking whatever financial services place ReliaQuest is or whatever. Now, SEC people will say that Alabama just didn't want to play this game because why would they want to play in the ReliaQuest Bowl? I don't blame them. But also, they got fucking bodied by a team that we've been talking all year about how much they kind of suck this year. So, really bad look for Alabama. Also, this is the second time that Kalen DeBoer has lost to the team up north this calendar year, and the second time that Alabama has lost to the team up north this calendar year on separate teams.
Fucking wild.
Love it.
Fucking wild.
Do fans call for Kalen DeBoer's head? Yes.
Yes.
That is a thing that has already happened.
Do you actually fire Kalen DeBoer? No.
No.
There's Alabama fans looking to see how much money they need to raise to get Nick Saban to come back. I guarantee it. Using their dial-up internet and their sisters' boyfriends'
luckily
Wi-Fi
for Alabama.
So your brother's Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Luckily for Alabama, they start next season at Florida State. So get a nice, comfortable win.
Things are looking up.
Yeah, but that's going to be an odd year Florida State, which is a whole different Florida State than an even year Florida State.
Florida State's got a lot of issues.
True.
And if we do a preseason show, we can talk about all the issues that are not going to be resolved by then, because it's going to be the same issue that they had this year, and it's a dependence on transfers that's going to kill them again. But that's not this show. This show's talking about how bad Alabama is. 4 losses for the first time in how long? Since the first year Nick Saban was there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question that I don't know the answer to off the top of my head. Let me do some digging. It'll be real fast.
I'll
get back to you.
I don't know if I'm more surprised that Alabama lost 4 games or the fact that Michigan not only became bowl eligible, but went on to win a bowl game against a team that everybody was sucking off all year. Absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, the last time they lost 4 or more games was 2007, which was Nick Saban's first season.
Unbelievable. Also terrifying because this was Kalen DeBoer's first season. We know what happened after Nick Saban's first season. And we're going to leave it at that and not think about it again until next year.
I don't love that thought. All right, Tony the Tiger's Sun Bowl. What a game this ended up being. Louisville played decently well on one side of the ball at least and pulled this one out their ass at the end against Washington. 35-34 is your final score for the Louisville Cardinals.
I think the real thing here is Washington played better than I think any of us expected them to as well.
Very much agree with that sentiment. But is that really a feature of Washington's offense, or is that Louisville's defense underwhelming us yet again this season, which
could
has
be
been
both.
a constant theme this year?
Could be both.
Yeah. ¿Por qué no los dos?
The Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, which I say yet again, those two flavors together sounds like an unholy abomination. But they make for a great bowl game. Bug and I said this is one of our favorite matchups of bowl season. I think we are vindicated in that assessment. However,
Absolutely.
all three of us picked the Cox. We were riding with the Cox, and did not work out for us.
Did
The
not work
Fighting
out at all.
Illini did some real shit.
I don't hate it. I also love the intensity that both coaches brought to this game. South Carolina had a little bit of a dirty trick on a kickoff return. Not illegal, for the record, not illegal. I can't remember who it was. Returner went back and just held his arms out, just T-pose. But he didn't like wave his arms or nothing. He just held his arms out like, hey, I'm not going to get the ball. And because he didn't wave, it was not a dead ball when Nick Harper got it. And then Nick Harper had a big return. The only thing I have an issue with is this piece right here. There was an injury to an Illinois player when this happened. And this is where I have issue. Injury to an Illinois player. Brett Bielema walks across the field as the teams are kind of huddled up and everybody tending to this player. And as he's walking away, he does the T-pose at the South Carolina sideline, and that gets Shane Beamer fired up. Somehow there's not a penalty for taunting against Bielema. But there was a lot of fireworks. This was awesome to see. Coaches gave a shit.
I know people are going to hate that. It is hilarious. It is objectively one of the funniest things a head coach can do.
And to add to it, Bielema, the games he was playing with substitutions, that got to Shane Beamer even more. And I do think Brett Bielema getting in the head of Shane Beamer is what got Illinois those extra 4 points in the win here.
I love it so much. Well, just love
everything about this game. Fucking love this game.
Oh man. Yeah. So Illinois wins 21-17, and we got to talk about the Illini as a legitimate threat in the Big Ten going forward. Which,
not just the Big Ten, this team, they could be a playoff team next year.
They finished the year 10-3, and two of those losses are to teams that are still in the playoff now that we're down to 4. So that weird, wonky 8-point loss to Minnesota is the only thing that really keeps Illinois out of the playoff conversation this year anyway.
Yeah. Just
crazy.
Well, and they were in that game against Penn State the whole way. So this is a wild one.
And people were saying South Carolina should have been in the playoffs. Let's talk about the Fighting Illini, baby.
Right.
All right, moving right along here. The Kinder's Texas Bowl, which now that Kinder's is a name sponsor for the Texas Bowl, this is the first year they've had a name sponsor. It used to just be the Texas Bowl. Now there's a registered trademark logo in the official bowl logo, which makes it slightly off-center when they paint the logo on the yard line. And it fucking drives me insane. It took me a while to realize that's what it was, but they painted the little registered trademark logo on the field too, which why would you do that, first of all? And second of all, it kicks it just like so slightly off center of the yard line. Wild. Anyway, this is Baylor LSU in what I thought was basically going to be like a home game for Baylor.
Yeah.
I was excited for the way Baylor's ended their season, because they started 2-4 with a couple of really close losses. Like, it was a one possession game against BYU, overtime loss at Colorado. Then they went on a tear and were blowing people out at the end of the year, including the Kansas team we just talked about beat BYU like the week earlier, beat Kansas 45-17. I thought Baylor was on a tear at the end of the year. I thought that was going to translate into the bowl season. It did not. This is 44-31 LSU. I was shocked by this result, but you guys both picked LSU, so maybe you were on to something. What were you thinking?
I just thought the SEC was going to do better here. I remember how bad Baylor was at the beginning of the year, and that was kind of the last thing I really remembered about the Bears. They kind of faded into obscurity. LSU, while they were never really in that college football playoff conversation, they seem like a fringe team all year that if a couple things bounced their way, maybe they would have found themselves in that conversation. I thought they would come into this game hungry, especially going into a hostile environment where, like you said, it was basically a home game for Baylor. I thought maybe they'd be able to get a little bit more out of that team, and it looks like they did. 44-31, great game for the Tigers.
And this does mean we're going to see a big drop-off from Baylor next year because all their good players are leaving after they lost the bowl game. DeQuan Finn, quarterback for Baylor this past season, has transferred once again. He came to Baylor from Toledo, and he's transferring out of Baylor, now going to Miami of Ohio. Why he's leaving Baylor for Miami, I do not know. It seemed like he was locked in as a starter next year. He could have stayed if he wanted to. I guess he was sick of being in Texas and wanted to be back in Ohio, which has got to be the first time that sentence has been uttered.
There's a whole song about coming back to Texas.
And there's not a song about coming back to Ohio.
As a matter of fact, they talk about how there's nothing wrong with Ohio except the snow and the rain in that song. And that the Mexican food sucks north of Texas anyway.
And people talk about how the most astronauts and the most presidents both come from the state of Ohio, meaning that being born in Ohio just makes it more likely that you want to leave your home state. So,
and the planet.
DeQuan Finn's all in on the state of Ohio. He's going to Miami of Ohio next year. And, I mean, good for him. Why not just stay at Toledo after all that? Who the hell knows? But he got a taste of Baylor football and didn't like it. So, all right. The Tax Slayer Gator Bowl.
We now have the only 3-loss SEC team that was bitching and complaining about how they need to be in the playoffs actually win. Yeah. And it's because they're playing a very mediocre Duke team. Ole Miss wins 52-20. I thought Ole Miss would win. Don't get me wrong. 52-20. Holy shit. I knew Duke was overrated, but this is next level overrated.
If you're going to be in the playoff, you got to beat Kentucky at home. It's the real lesson here.
I will say, though, Ole Miss at least made a case. The other two teams that were bitching about it didn't even win their game. So, lost to Big Ten opponents. Imagine that.
Love to see it. So you're saying if Ole Miss were playing Illinois, this would have gone.
That would have been a hell of a game. Actually.
Yes, it would have.
That would have been awesome. Plus, Luke Altmaier, the Mississippi State transfer, that would have been even better. They need to make that game happen.
Next up, the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl, which I just got to say, it's been a month since I got to bitch about these logos. I get to do it one more time here. First Responder Bowl only lets like media and everybody get this version of the logo with the black text. They did not allow, like explicitly in their media guide, do not allow color alterations of the lettering, even if you have a dark background. They were like, you have to put a white patch behind it because this is the only official logo. And then painted on the field is white text First Responder Bowl. Fuck you, First Responder Bowl.
And fuck North Texas for being the only second American Athletic Conference team to lose their bowl game this year. Congrats. You and Tulane fucked a perfect bowl season up for the American Athletic Conference.
But also consider this. This is one of the best games of the entire bowl season. And we talked about 2 crazy extra overtime games already. This game was incredible. Did not go to overtime. This one was just down to the wire regulation. Unreal back and forth there at the end. And Texas State comes out on top, 30-28.
So fucking annoying, though.
Yeah, because you're a hater. Just don't be a hater. It'll be great. Next up, the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Yum.
One of the progenitors of the fun bowl sponsor experience, the Duke's Mayo Bowl here
The
in
Mayo
Charlotte, North
bath.
Carolina. And the literal tub of mayo mascot took off the helmet at the end of the game, the entire jar of mayonnaise suit, and revealed that he was Flava Flav the entire time.
No. I missed that. Fuck.
And then PJ Fleck let out his best boy before getting dumped with mayonnaise by Flava Flav.
Oh man, I fucking love it. Oh, I love it.
24-10, Minnesota gets the win here over Virginia Tech. We all picked the Gophers.
This game was interesting at the start. I will say
It very much was. I'm fascinated by the season for Max Brosmer. Coming up from New Hampshire, gets one single season in Power 4 football, takes Minnesota to 8-5. That is not a bad year. I don't know what his future looks like. I very highly doubt he's going to get all that kind of look at the NFL. But if some team takes a shot at him, I think they'll be pleasantly surprised.
He's going to be great playing for the Michigan Panthers.
Cannot wait for that. Going to ball out. That 1-point loss to Penn State's got to be haunting them.
Oh,
and
100%.
that 2-point loss out on the missed field goal to North Carolina. What a season that could have been for Minnesota too, even at 8-5. Then the Bahamas Bowl down in the Bahamas. This bowl is crazy every year, not because there's any fun title sponsor, but because it's in the Bahamas, and the Bahamas don't know how to host American football games.
They also don't know how to maintain a field.
Right.
Holy shit.
Like
I was like, what? Did
else.
they just throw random paint spots over the field? No, they were just patches of sand, which is an effective way to fill a hole in a grass field, and grass will eventually grow.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my God, that field looked awful.
Liberty's head coach, Jamie Chadwell, was wearing a Jesus Wins t-shirt. And then I saw all the memes afterwards, which was Buffalo wins.
It's a good thing Jesus wins, because Liberty sure fucking didn't.
26-7. The Buffalo Bulls win this one down in Nassau.
And Buffalo scored another touchdown. It was called back, and then they decided we'll just kneel it out instead.
Yeah.
Like, this game should have been 33-7.
But Buffalo took mercy on the private school.
Jeez.
What? Oh, man.
And the other story here, they ran all over Liberty. This was not done through the air. This was a ground attack from Buffalo, and they absolutely destroyed them.
Just a full Bahamas experience for both these schools. All right. On to
disgusting.
The FBS playoffs.
I got one quadrant perfect.
We were all very wrong in our brackets. I'm just going to spoil that for you right now. Bug is not unique in being this wrong. We were all about this wrong. Actually, I'll spoil one more thing for you. Every single one of us had the Orange Bowl as Georgia Boise State. And neither of those schools are in the Orange Bowl.
I got one quadrant right. That's all I'm going to say. I'll leave it at that. I'll take that dub.
Yeah, and then flip to me. And at least I had Notre Dame and Penn State win in the first round. I can claim that.
I shouldn't have gone with two upsets in the first round. The more I think about it, the more I realize that's where I made my mistake, was going with – actually, I went with 3 upsets in the first round. I went for the story, though.
Mm-hmm.
I should have kept it to 1. Oh, well.
Tug was the most wrong of us, though, which actually not. So the first round, he got everyone right, but then he just fell apart entirely.
Yeah, completely missed it.
Oh,
I a lot of people are saying, oh, well, it's the fact that they, the seating was bad and that's what happened. Like, who really thought that Arizona State was going to win and who really thought Boise State was going to win? I mean, you could kind of pencil those two teams out. Georgia and Oregon got fucking worked, though.
And Arizona State did not get worked. That was very much a great overtime game.
And I want to throw this out here. Ashton Jeanty did not get completely shut down. He's still,
Right.
if getting completely shut down is rushing for over 100 yards and requiring 6 guys to get you down every time, then I'll take getting completely shut down every fucking day of the week. The problem is Boise State doesn't have a passing game.
I saw somebody counted. He got hit in the backfield on 26 of his runs.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a Jeanty problem. He ran for over 100 yards. They got hit in the backfield 26 times.
I saw one. He got hit twice in the backfield.
Yeah.
Broke through that. Got through the hole. Got hit by 2 guys again and broke through that. And it was the 5th or 6th guy that finally got him down. Yeah, Ashton Jeanty was not why Boise State lost this game. Ashton Jeanty 100% is still your Heisman Trophy winner in my heart, because look at what fucking Travis Hunter did against BYU. Fucking nothing.
Second place, Cam Scattaboo. Y'all ain't ready for that conversation anyway.
I also agree. Also agree there. I'm not. No, you take off with it.
No, it's Arizona State does not win anywhere close to as many games this season as they did without Cam Scattaboo. And I've trained since he was at Sac State.
Oh, I
He's
know.
the second of my very highly acclaimed FCS transfers that I've been riding with since they were in the FCS. The other one being, of course, Cam Ward. And to see one of them being potentially the number 1 overall pick in this coming draft, and one of them bringing Arizona State to a first-round bye. What the hell?
Your Heisman finalists, like if you take 5 of them, right? Or even just 4 of them, who are the finalists? It was Jeanty, Scattaboo, Travis Hunter, and then was it Dylan Gabriel or Cam Ward? I can't remember.
Scattaboo was not a finalist. It was Gabriel and Ward.
It was Gabriel and Ward.
GT.
So, but look at those 5. Ward and Scattaboo started in the FCS. Gabriel and Travis Hunter, who won it, by the way.
Yep.
And then Dylan Gabriel and Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty's still at a Group of 5 school, and Dylan Gabriel started at a Group of 5 school.
Yep.
You want to talk about parity in college football? And let's also not forget, too, the Rose Bowl didn't have any opt-outs for the first time in how long? Peach Bowl didn't have any opt-outs. Fiesta Bowl didn't have any opt-outs. Sugar Bowl didn't have any opt-outs. These games that the College Football Playoff Committee and college football in general wanted to mattered. And everybody was at these games. And we haven't even talked about the atmosphere at the first round of the playoffs, which, of course, was home games. What better place to start than by talking about Indiana and Notre Dame?
What an environment. Oh, my gosh. The fact that this game was as close as it was, and everybody immediately jumped all over Indiana that night. I was like,
I know.
Oh, my gosh, Indiana didn't deserve to be here, losing by fucking 10 points, didn't even show up to play. And then every other game is a
Just the
bigger
closest
blowout
game
than
of the
this.
weekend. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. What? Also, just recently, a couple days ago, came out that Curtis Rourke played this entire season on a torn ACL.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yes. He's having surgery right now to repair his ACL, which got damaged in August.
What?
And he took Indiana to their best season of all time and almost beat this Notre Dame team that looks damn near unbeatable right now.
So he's coming back next year, right? Like he's gonna.
I think he's done. I think he's out of eligibility. He played 4 years at Ohio, 4 or 5.
Fuck. Did he redshirt one of them? Does he have his COVID year? There's got to be a way to get this guy another year in college football.
I don't think there is. I think this was his 6th year already.
Jesus.
I mean, unbelievable. Also, that home environment really helped Notre Dame. And I know they're in the same state, but it definitely was a home game for Notre Dame.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
very clearly, definitively. And
Notre Dame's still the bigger brand in Indiana. So
that environment was electric. Notre Dame, we all picked Notre Dame to win, but this was legitimately a good game. And people were losing their minds. Playoff has blowouts every single year. People just forget about Georgia TCU. People, I mean, whatever.
Yeah, and in case you forgot about all the blowouts, we had them on Saturday.
Yeah, 38-10, Penn State over SMU. Not as big of a blowout as it looks on paper.
Yeah,
SMU had some really bad bounces.
Bad bounces. They had the same issue they had in the ACC championship game. They had 3 interceptions early in the game that set up Penn State for points. Without those interceptions, without those turnovers, and giving Penn State that great field position, this game is completely different. SMU was containing that Penn State offense, but there's not much you can do when they only have to go 20, 30 yards.
Right. Right. And Penn State's defense has been the best part of this team. So to see them show up the way they did shouldn't have been that surprising, I guess. But it felt like a big deal compared to how SMU's been playing offense all year.
2 pick sixes for Penn State. I mean, that's 14 points right there. You take that away, and we're looking at a 24-10 matchup instead.
Right.
I'll take that.
Much closer final score, Clemson at Texas. Didn't feel as close as it was. I know it's a 14-point spread here. Texas definitively won this game. And I don't think Texas looked that good doing it somehow. But they did definitively win.
They won out of spite. Speaking of winning out of spite, Tennessee, talking about kneeling north and warming up shirtless, saying how the cold didn't get to them. It absolutely was getting to them. And how they're going to take the goalpost. They had the route all planned of how they're going to get it and throw them in the river. How'd that work out for them, Doug?
So this was one of the most cathartic experiences of my life. Ohio State beating Tennessee 42-17. So I had to really deeply reflect on Ohio State football after this, because just the previous show I was talking about how Ryan Day really does need to be fired. I don't believe that anymore.
Just from this game, or is there another game included in that?
There's another game included in that, but
then hold those thoughts.
Okay,
hold those thoughts.
But I do want to talk about what changed for this game specifically first, because I think there was a crucial difference in philosophy. All right. There have been 2 big power struggles brewing in Ohio State coaching for the past 2 seasons. One of them has, and then the beginning of this year for the other one. So Larry Johnson is one of definitively the greatest defensive line coaches of all time. He coached top 5 picks at Penn State, came over to Ohio State, started coaching top 5 picks at Ohio State. He's responsible for the Bosa brothers, Chase Young, almost winning the Heisman that one year. He's been sensational. Then we bring in a new defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, who has quite a very different philosophy on how to run a defense than what Larry Johnson was used to. And from his time at Oklahoma State and before Oklahoma State, Jim Knowles was running a 3-3-5. We've always run 4-down linemen at Ohio State, and that's what Larry Johnson's known for, is 4-down linemen. Jim Knowles changed his philosophy to a 4-2-5 to accommodate Larry Johnson. I don't think that was tenable for very long. You have to buy into one or the other because they don't work in tandem. And it's been eating this Ohio State defense for 2 years. And they've been sensational through that, even at times. But something hasn't been right. That changed for this game, where we finally sorted through our differences. And it was still a lot of 4 down linemen, but it was a lot of 3 down linemen with a roaming, sometimes hand in the dirt guy, which is what Jim Knowles always ran before. I think Larry Johnson let the reins go and said, this has to be Jim Knowles' defense. And that, what a change that was. The other issue brewing is that I think everyone, myself included, assumed that Chip Kelly and Ryan Day were going to stick together like glue. No issue at all. They've worked together since Ryan Day was literally 6 years old. Not even joking. They've been together forever. That offensive philosophy is going to mesh like nobody's business. It's going to be brilliant. Chip Kelly is the perfect fit for this OC job. It wasn't, specifically because look at Oregon's offenses when Chip Kelly was there. What was their bread and butter?
Speed.
Running the damn ball every play, even if it was the quarterback running the ball. They were running the ball every damn play with an option to pass it if somebody was open, but you were running the ball and you were getting to the outside as fast as possible, and you were just all in running the ball every single time you could. As opposed to Ryan Day, the quarterback, developing his quarterbacks in his style, recruiting wide receivers at the highest level the sport has ever seen, and churning out first-round picks at receiver like nobody's business. At some point, even LSU fans were considering Ohio State to be wide receiver U, and then they've backed off of that because they came to their senses and realized they're an SEC school and they're not allowed to compliment any other school. So there had to be a melding of those philosophies at some point and a real mesh between what Chip Kelly wanted to run and what Ryan Day wanted to run. And that hadn't happened until before this playoff game. And I can't believe it took this long. But both of those issues appear to have been resolved. It created 42-17 over Tennessee in the first round.
And there's another game to talk about.
It's almost like a certain game woke the entire coaching staff up like it should have done for the past 3 years.
I guess. I mean, I don't know what else to chalk it up to. So we can go with that for the time being. We'll see how the story ends. But in the meantime, we have the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Penn State advancing to play the bye Boise State. I was the only one to pick Penn State in this game, going against my own bracket because in all of our brackets we had Boise State winning this for some reason.
Foolish.
Yeah,
How foolish of us.
Penn State's defense dominated again. And I understand we just talked about Hash and Genty broke like 6 tackles every carry. The fact that there was always a 7th guy there ready to tackle him still is a credit to this Penn State defense, though.
Yeah.
Facts.
And their game plan was make Boise State's passing game or lack thereof beat us. And it worked to a T for them because, what do you know, Boise State sure as shit couldn't pass the ball.
Yeah. I mean, that's been the story for them forever. Since
Sobransky.
I mean, they've had some quarterbacks back in the day. It's been a minute. And Malachi Nelson just transferred again, so they're not even having that former 5-star. He's at UTEP now.
Gross.
The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, one of the greatest games we've seen in the college football playoff ever. Texas advanced to play Arizona State, who had the bye. And Texas came out to a 17-0 start. I was thinking, oh, shit. Arizona State's getting fucked. And then they just kept coming back. And Cam Scattaboo wore down that defense and ended up puking and rallying on the sidelines.
Fuck yeah.
And just kept running. It was beautiful.
One day, I just started running, and I didn't stop.
I don't think he's quite Forrest Gump. I'm pretty sure he's from California.
Close enough. Then some craziness in overtime. I am not sure that that's really a touchdown at the end there for Texas, and I'm not sure that Arizona State didn't score, but also, Texas was the better team. I'm okay with the end result, even though it's kind of like sus.
There's two plays here that I want to talk about. First being the targeting call or non-call. I can see why it should have been targeting. I think I've been convinced that maybe it should have been targeting. But it kind of falls in line with some of the things I've been saying about targeting specifically all year, and that the spirit of the rule and the letter of the law need to be two different things.
Right.
And I think this falls into that category. Because watching it live, to me, it looked like the two just met. And it was a brutal hit, a violent hit. When you slow it down, it definitely does look like the Texas player is crouched down. He comes up into the tackle, and it is helmet to helmet as first point of contact.
So I 100% agreed. Initial reaction to that hit was, oh, shit, it was a monster collision. But that looked pretty clean. And then you watch the replay. That's kind of is the crown of the helmet coming up to hit the other guy's helmet. And he's definitely a defenseless receiver in that position. And
the flip side, the same thing wasn't called against Arizona State on a pass that Texas didn't catch. So, and that one was no questions asked targeting, like way worse. There's not even a debate on whether or not it was. So to me, it cleans up in the wash. The second piece, and this has been getting people all over the internet talking about it, because some AI generated thing about the field goal came out, and like people are falling for this shit left and right. I'm like, y'all really think that this is the rule?
Right.
Like, what?
Field goals are not allowed to bounce in between uprights and count. It is explicitly written in the NCAA rule book that if the ball contacts a player or the ground before going through the uprights, it is not good. Like, that is very explicit in the rule book.
Yeah, and I've heard Barstool Sports is one of them. I'm like, how are you guys falling for this?
Right.
Like, I understand the masses that are already upset that Arizona State lost, that feel like they got shafted because of that non-call on targeting.
Well, and some random person who maybe doesn't follow the sport as closely as everybody else, doing a quick Google, holy shit, is that real? And then posting that, and then it goes viral. I'm even okay with that.
I'm not gonna lie, like I was like, that doesn't sound right now, but I took the extra time to go actually find it myself, and I was like, okay.
Right.
Are you telling me that AI buried an entire fan base?
No. AI lied. That's all.
Yeah. AI lied, and half the fucking country believed it.
Oh, man.
Well, that's pretty standard for the internet.
It's fucking
I don't know what else we expect.
Absolutely unbelievable.
So now we're moving on to the good game of the weekend.
If the Texas game was cathartic, what was this game for you?
Tennessee game, you mean?
Yeah.
You said Texas game.
I know. The real UT.
The UTI game. All right. So this game was... all right. There's two ways to view this, right? Because there's the initial look at 41-21 and saying, well, that's pretty good blowout. Fair enough. If you watch the game, though, you know that it was 34-0 before Oregon came back a little bit. There is another way to view that, though, and say, what heart by the Oregon Ducks to actually come back as much as they did.
There were palms to the sky that entire first half, all over that Oregon team.
Yeah.
Not just on the defense. I mean, everybody.
Craziest shit to me, though, 2 of those initial touchdown passes from Will Howard on that 34-0 run were in double coverage. And there were other receivers that were uncovered, and he threw into double coverage, and it just worked. And, like, everything was working for us. And it shouldn't have been working for us as well as it was, but it just was. So this is – Tennessee was cathartic. This was affirmation of what I reflected on after Tennessee, and also vindication of my feelings after that first Oregon game, where I even said at the time, this was not the best game Ohio State has played. I don't think this is what Ohio State's capable of. It's also a 1-point game on the road at one of the stadiums that people generally agree is one of the hardest stadiums to play at for the away team in college football. So I was okay with that first result, assuming that we would meet again in the Big Ten Championship and we'd beat their asses. Ended up being the Rose Bowl, which is even cooler. Not going to lie. And then, yeah, we beat their fucking asses. So yet again, 2 things I noticed, one on offense, one on defense. Offensively, this is the true coming out of both Jeremiah Smith and Will Howard. Everyone, I think, at this point recognizes Jeremiah Smith is potentially the greatest freshman of all time. And that's not even hyperbole. And he didn't win Freshman of the Year, by the way. Fucking bullshit. Some Texas defensive lineman did. Next.
I wouldn't even go with that either. It's ridiculous.
Will Howard. I said before the season, this is the exact kind of quarterback that Ohio State needs. This is JT Barrett, but a little bit better arm strength. That's perfect for Ohio State. We survived the years of Haskins and Stroud throwing the ball as well as they did. They were not mobile enough for an Ohio State offense. Justin Fields was the pinnacle, but Will Howard has the physicality to go with it that Justin Fields didn't. This is exactly the kind of quarterback Ohio State needs. This is the game that proved that. Then on defense, we saw the actual melding of Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles' schemes really coming together. This is Jack Sawyer's best performances as a Buckeye, are that first round game in this Rose Bowl, which he's been with the program forever now. So that's insane to say. And he keeps getting better. Jack Sawyer's almost damn near playing himself into a first round pick in this playoffs. This is an insane performance. And he's not even the defensive MVP that's going to Cody Simon. Just incredible turnaround by our linebacking core too, which is something I didn't talk about in the Tennessee game. Huge shout out to James Laurinaitis and the job that he's done with our linebacking core this season, because that's been one of the weaknesses of our team ever since. I mean, the last time our linebackers looked this good would either be the 2014 National Championship team, or some people would say the 2019 team that lost to Clemson in a game that I don't think we should have lost to Clemson, but we did. Anyway, some of the best linebacker play we've had forever. Going with the best defensive line play we've had in forever. Going with one of the most talented secondaries Ohio State's ever had. Going with Will Howard finally coming into his own. at Ohio State, going with Jeremiah Smith being the best freshman of all time. Shit, it looks like Ohio State's pretty damn good.
Let me sum this up for you. This is where Ohio State wants to be at this point in the season. This is what you want to be seeing out of this team with everything that's on the line coming up. Going into a game against your former quarterback, I might add.
Yeah, that's not that big of a storyline for actual Ohio State fans or Texas fans, not going to lie.
That's fair.
Most media outlets are going to make a big deal out of it, but nobody gives a shit.
He just wanted the kombucha deal. That's the only reason
Exactly.
he went to Ohio State.
Yep.
Everybody knew, even in our fan base, is like, obviously this kid's going back to Texas as soon as possible. But Texas wasn't allowing him to reclassify to come out of high school early. Ohio State did. So he went to Ohio State for a year. Which, honestly, so here's an interesting discussion. I don't know if we want to wrap this up first or if we want to – this is a completely off-topic conversation. It's up to you guys.
What is it? Is it about NIL?
Yes.
We can get there. We can get there.
All right. So, Sugar Bowl first. Notre Dame, Georgia. Like I said before, this was a 6-3 game, basically going into halftime. And then the fumble, the strip sack happened. And the second half kick return happened. And
floodgates really opened up here for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
It's a pity. It really is a pity because Georgia has had comeback power in the past this season. And they've been come back on this season. Not able to really get anything going once Notre Dame started going. And that was really the story here is once Notre Dame turned it on, they didn't look back.
Most impressive thing to me is definitely not this Notre Dame offense. It's this Notre Dame defense and how fast they look and how aggressive they're playing. Just how dangerous this Notre Dame defense feels right now. That's impressive. And I know it's a backup quarterback for Georgia. Usually doesn't seem to matter. When's the last time they've actually had a good quarterback? So it shouldn't change anything for that offense.
Matt Stafford.
Right. So, yeah, I'm impressed with this Notre Dame team. Which
I mean, I think you should be. I don't think there's any reason to not be impressed with them.
Which creates a fascinating Orange Bowl. But before we get there, that is where we're at right now with our pick'em. All of bowl season so far. Bug wraps up the year in third place. And I came in second during bowl season. I let the lead slip through my fingers by exactly the right amount. That means going into the last 3 games of the entire season, Tug and I are tied overall. If you'll hit that next slide there. 477 and 272 on the season.
Fuck.
Unreal. And we do have a difference of opinion on the Orange Bowl. So it's not going to come down to the national championship for sure. But we'll see what happens. I'm taking a fucking risk. I don't know why.
I think this is the game where the moment gets too big for James Franklin. This has to be the Orange Bowl with a chance of going to the national championship game against perennial powerhouse Notre Dame.
I relax on that.
Okay,
when's the last
perennial
powerhouse?
Perennial. We're gonna suck them off, Notre Dame. How about that?
Perennial top 25 Notre Dame. They've been a perennial powerhouse since the 80s.
That's fair. You wouldn't know that by how they're ranked every fucking year.
Well,
I will say this Notre Dame team, I did not feel the first round. I figured they would probably win. I thought maybe Indiana pulls it out because Notre Dame, they're always overrated. They always choke. Maybe Indiana will pull it out. I wasn't surprised when they won that. I was a little surprised that they beat Georgia. I'm back to not where I'm not going to be surprised if they win this one.
So I wouldn't be surprised either, but I said at the beginning of the tournament, Notre Dame is one of those teams that scares me more than anybody. And I know I picked Georgia to beat them in the bracket. I said from the jump, Notre Dame is one of those teams that scares me. The way they ended the season was terrifying. So I would not at all be surprised if we get a Notre Dame national championship.
Yeah.
Also, this is the best I've seen Penn State play in a very long time. And the way this offense is cooking right now is unique amongst Penn State teams of recent memory. And both of these defenses are phenomenal. I think this is very potentially like a 21-17 game. And either side could win that to me. So
Yeah.
I'm rolling the dice and trying for the all Big Ten championship. If
I
that
do
doesn't give away my Cotton Bowl pick already.
Yeah, I don't know what's
Wonder-
I
wonder
wonder
who
who you're going to pick. I don't know what's going to be more interesting: Notre Dame back in a national championship, or the potential of a all Big Ten championship. This is going to be the first of two very exciting matchups, I think. I do like the way both of these teams line up, and like I said, I think James Franklin is going to be their issue here. I imagine that's probably where Tug's coming from too. Yeah, I'm excited for this one.
Here's my dream scenario. James Franklin does everything right. Penn State wins this game, looks all right doing it, maybe even the 2-score win for Penn State. Then they run into Ohio State, where the moment's always too big for them, and it's like another 28-7 game. Ohio State just beats the shit out of them again. JT Tuimoloau gets 7 sacks and 3 pick sixes. Because that's what he does against Penn State. Oh, man.
And
Anyway.
last but not least, does this not scare you at all?
I don't love it, I'll tell you that much. So this is the Goodyear Cotton Bowl in Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium. Practically a home game for University of Texas, like an hour and a half, 2-hour drive from Austin. Yep. And a little bit longer of a drive than that from Columbus. So
just a little bit.
Would consider this basically a home game for the Longhorns. However, the weather is a little bit of an equalizer here in that Texas people don't know how to drive in the snow, and there's going to be half an inch of snow, and therefore Ohio State fans are going to show up in force. That's my strategy here. No, the way Ohio State's playing right now, no one in the country can beat them. If they continue to play like they did against Tennessee and Oregon, they will win handily. Here's the question. Is if Texas's defense is legitimate or if SEC offenses are kind of ass. Because one of those two scenarios is real. And I'm not sure which one I buy just yet. Right now, the theory is Texas's defensive line is probably the best defensive line in the country, even better than Ohio State's. And I can see where people are coming from with that, although I disagree. And also, even if that's true, I don't believe their defensive tackles individually are better than the defensive tackles we played and when we played the team up north. And Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant both. So I believe we will be able to run the ball on this Texas team. Case in point, Cam Scatterboo.
Right.
So,
and you're going to have a two-headed monster to take out him too.
With that in mind, the question then becomes, how do I think we match up against Texas secondary? Their secondary is considered to be elite, but I don't trust them to cover 3 receivers that are better than almost anyone I would have my pick of wide receiver in the SEC. I would take Ryan Williams over Carnell Tate right now, probably. I would not take Ryan Williams over Jeremiah Smith or Emeka Egbuka. Other than Ryan Williams, I cannot name you an SEC receiver I would take over the top 3 receivers of Ohio State right now. So is Texas secondary elite, or will we be able to beat them in routes? The way we have played the SEC in the past, I think our receivers will be capable.
And how have you played in the Big 12 in the past?
I mean, well, the last time we played Texas in the Cotton Bowl, Colt McCoy diced us up. So,
well, yeah, but he was the real McCoy. There's nothing you can do about that. Yeah, I think it was the first thing you said. Nobody in the country can beat Ohio State the way they're playing right now.
Yeah,
that's really what it comes down to for me. Texas, I think, is going to be the closest. They're going to have the best shot at it. But that, I mean, that's just I don't know that that's necessarily going to be true.
I also think what a fucking incredible matchup Ohio State Notre Dame's going to be.
The only permutation of this that I think won't be a good matchup is Texas Penn State. I think if we end up with a Texas Penn State National Championship game, Texas is going to fucking dominate them.
I think that would be a decent game. I would hate it.
I can't tell if that's your Big Ten bias or if you legitimately think that, because I do think there are a lot of issues with Penn State.
I legitimately think that. I think there are a lot of issues with Texas.
I mean, you're not wrong there either.
I don't think Quinn Ewers is anywhere near as good as everyone wished he were. I also don't believe this
Texas fans are saying that
is as good as people assume that it is, because they have 2 very talented tackles. I think the interior of this offensive line is actually relatively weak, and their running game shows it. So you're relying on the strength of this defense, which I just explained I don't really trust. And if Penn State can ball out on the defensive side of the ball like they have, I would say that's going to end up being a pretty strength-on-strength matchup. I don't even know if I would say that. A very even strength matchup on both sides of the ball, in my opinion, Penn State, Texas. I give the edge to Ohio State on both sides of the ball, though, which is a scary thought, because I've thought that before about other games, and it hasn't worked out for me, but also I think it should.
Absolutely.
All right. So, all right. That is the end of our picks, and I have one more thing I want to ask you, and this is a hypothetical. And it's technically not NIL related, but it's in that vein. Anyway, if you were a freshman, like 4-star, you're not guaranteed a starting spot at a big Power 4 school coming out of high school. You are a pretty sought-after recruit, though. Here's my theory. Let's say you're a 4-star quarterback. You have an offer to go to Ohio State. Why would you not take that and learn under Ryan Day for 2 years and then go start somewhere?
2 things. You got that offer to sit on the bench with no NIL. And yes, you get to learn under a great coach and a great quarterback developer. Or, and we'll use Memphis in this example because I know their NIL system a little bit better.
Sure.
You get a letter from Fred Smith saying that FedEx is going to give you X amount of money. And Ryan Silverfield has said, at most, you're going to sit 1 season because we have a senior here right now. Or, hey, our senior is graduating and he will not be back for a 5th year and you'll start next year. Plus, you'll be getting NIL money. So more tape out there. You're getting paid. I think that is what has changed in college football. And I think that is why we're starting to see things kind of level out across. I don't think the gap between Power 4, and Group of 5 is as big as it was. And I don't think that the gap in college football in general is that big. I think where we see the difference is that these big programs have the pedigrees and they have the coaches. And that is why we're seeing those talents from the Power 5 schools translate better to the NFL. Not necessarily that they're more talented.
Most of the time, a P4 program is going to have bigger NIL coffers.
Right.
So there are exceedingly few exceptions. I think Memphis is one of those.
I think they're starting to work
Boise
themselves
State
into it. Yeah.
has plenty of donations, I'm sure. Also, should we start calling it Group of 6? Now the Pac-12's kind of back, but not really.
Yeah, the Pac-12 was 0-1 in their bowl games this year. They only had one bowl team, but
yeah,
somehow they did worse than the SEC, and that's a shame.
Dude, the Pac-12 champ didn't even make a bowl game. That's nuts. Anyway, so even in that scenario, you said sit on the bench at Memphis for 1 year. Why not go sit on the bench at Ohio State for 1 year? And I understand NIL consideration, but it's very possible you get better coaching. Not a shot at Memphis coaches.
No,
as a theoretical, you get better coaching for 1 season, then go transfer somewhere, instant starter for 2-3 years. You make more money anyway, and you're a better quarterback because of that season with higher.
It's kind of like what we saw with Quinn Ewers. He went got the coaching. But I will say, I think without that kombucha deal, I don't know that he goes there. I think another school would have had something else lined up for him. And he would have said, "Cool, I can make $1 million and just sit and learn the college football game." Because I've not talked to D1 football players. I have talked to somebody who went and played aside from the Air Force Academy, but I'm not going to count that. Right. I have talked to guys that have played D1 baseball and at Mississippi State, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
He said he made it through, fall practices, and he had some real deep reflection. He said, "I love baseball. I'm good at baseball. But this is a whole different level." And I think going into a situation where hey, I'm going to go in and I'm just here to learn. I'm never going to sniff the field. This is purely a learning experience. I do see how that's beneficial because it introduces you to what it takes to play at that next level.
Just also crazy to me that people were like up in arms about that $1 million kombucha deal for Quinn Ewers. And then they turn around and Nico Iamaleava got like $9 million to go to Tennessee, and it's just getting crazy.
It's crazy how fast it's changed. Absolutely crazy how fast
people were very upset with the publicity of the $20 million roster for Ohio State this year, not realizing that there are several teams paying more than that for their roster this season. And Ohio State just the one who came out and said it. Yeah, Oregon paid considerably more, actually. Also, so there's a corner that was initially committed to Ohio State in the 2025 recruiting class, Neem Offord, who flipped to Oregon basically on signing day. It was like a couple days before signing day or something like that. Part of that consideration was that he got a shoe deal with Nike to go to Oregon.
Oh my God.
There's only one collegiate player right now with an actual shoe like brand, being UConn's basketball player, Paige Beakers.
Yeah.
Whatever you pronounce her last name. I don't think he's actually getting a shoe deal like that. I think he's just getting like custom shoes whenever he wants it, and he misunderstood that. Is my theory. But also, how nuts is it that Oregon just has Phil Knight buying a roster?
Yeah.
Nobody really talks about that anymore. Crazy shit going down. I just think there is a world where it is better for you to go to a school that you will never start for a couple of seasons, because you have a free transfer now. You can just leave at any time once you think you're ready to go play somewhere. But if you're not ready to go play somewhere and you have an offer from Lincoln Riley to go learn how to play quarterback, holy shit, I'd take that before I would get balled out for Texas State.
I would be interested to see what the NIL deal for cornerback Cody Jones looked like at Michigan. He went to Michigan, played there for 2 seasons, 4-star recruit out of Germantown High School, which is a suburb of Memphis. He is now transferring back to Memphis. I think he played in a total of 2 games at Michigan, but he won a national championship and was on a decent enough defense this past year. And now he's coming back to Memphis. So I think to your point very much, hey, I got some high-level coaching. Now I'm going to go back hometown and play the game. He only had like 6 tackles his entire time at Michigan.
He said, my NIL demands are extremely high. That's all I know. He literally tweeted that exact sentence.
Fred Smith, baby.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll see. That's interesting. I'll have to dig into that. I don't know if I can find out, but I will see what I can, if I can. I do subscribe to On3. Fuckers, let me log in. Why would they think I'm not subscribed to On3?
With that though, wow, what a great podcast, and wow, Tug's internet sucks balls. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You know, he came back when you were talking about Ohio State and you talked for so long he never got a word in.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw that, or if for our audio listeners, you certainly didn't know that happened. But man, I don't know what they're doing with internet up in South Dakota, but he's got to get it fucking figured out. That said, I got some links for us while Doug continues to do his digging here. If you want to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/BDT football. You can support us, throw some donations for the show, and it'll help improve some things here. If you want to catch the show live, if you're just listening, go ahead over to twitch.tv/Big Dudes in the Trenches, all one word there. Or you can catch it live or later on YouTube at youtube.com/Big Dudes in the Trenches. Again, all one word there. You can keep up with us on Twitter or X, whatever you decide you want to call it, at BDT Football, Facebook.com/BDT Football, and Instagram.com/BDT_football. We do have a website. I don't know why I'm going to talk about it. It kind of sucks, but BDTfootball.com, and you can send us your questions via mail at mailbox@BDTfootball.com. You can also comment live at Twitch or YouTube when we're live on the air. You can ask your questions. We will answer them live on the show, unless it's just completely off the wall, or if you're, a viewer bot. And last but not least, come in, hang out in our Discord, and if you tell us that you entered this link because I said it and you didn't just copy it, we'll give you special privileges. Nobody's done it yet, so I haven't had to figure out what those privileges are. But I'd love to figure out what they were. https:// discord.gg/U, lowercase d, lowercase j, capital C, capital B, lowercase k, 8, lowercase b. Suck it, Tug, yet again, for not wanting to read that link.
Boom,
bitch. Let's go.
All righty, folks. That's all I got.
I can't believe college football is almost over.
It hurts.
It hurts.
Say that.
I don't know. I feel bad. I do feel bad about it.
Now we have no college football until August.
Yeah. What do you call an American bee?
I don't know.
A USB.
Okay. All right.
You gonna do Tug's thing?
No. Did you see that Trump's gonna rename it the Gulf of America?
Yeah, I did.
That shit's funny.
It's almost as good as a USB. I'm just saying.
That's way funnier than USB.
All right. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Peace out, Girl Scout. We will see y'all next week, and hopefully we got an exciting college football national championship to talk about. See you next time.